I received a call the other day at work from an old high school buddy who I hadn't seen for several years. He asked how I was doing, to which I gave him a standard answer. Work was fine, family are well, and then I inquired as to how he was doing. He said he was doing well, and then we went on to talk in detail about old times. The one thing we spent the most time talking about, though, was when we were seniors and the night before the big game. My buddy and I were two of the best players on our school's basketball team. We had made it all the way through the playoffs and into the final. After our last training session before the big game, we were both really nervous and couldn't sleep. We'd been messaging each other through the night and decided to head out for a walk together, rather than lie in bed idle with our minds racing. We met on an overpass that was equidistant from our homes. It was near an old abandoned hospital that hadn't been occupied for several years, since it had been condemned for significant structural issues. It had fallen into complete disarray and was now a refuge for the homeless and the stray. We talked about what the future would hold if we played well tomorrow. College scouts may pick us up, and then we would be set. My friend said all he wanted was to get a scholarship into medical school, as it was his dream of becoming a surgeon. I just wanted to play ball. That's all. After talking for around an hour, a light went on in the abandoned hospital building behind us, followed by some faint yet chilling crying and screaming of a young child. We both couldn't just stand still and listen to this, so we decided to go and investigate. Was this a good idea? Well, keep listening and you tell me. We went up to the top floor and found the room with the light on. The screams had stopped, however, we were still feeling very uncomfortable as to what we might find. So I grabbed a pipe and my buddy a piece of wood as makeshift weapons in case we needed to defend ourselves or rescue someone. We entered the room, and as we did, the place went completely dark. I called out to my friend, who called back, and then the room changed. It was terrifying. It went from being the abandoned room with broken glass and debris strewn everywhere to what looked like an old operating theatre. No one was there that we could see. It was just us and this creepy old and cold room. We were both bewildered as to where it had come from and what it all meant. Moments later, my buddy screamed out as his ankle gave way and he fell to the ground in excruciating pain. He had twisted it somehow and could no longer stand on his own. At this point, the room changed back to the same trash-filled room, devoid of any humans, and we both agreed it would be best if we got the hell out of there as quickly as possible. My friend, not being able to walk properly, required my assistance, and it took us ages to make our way down multiple flights of stairs to the ground. Along the way, we heard a baby laughing, which was the final straw, and it felt like an eternity until we had made it safely back to the bottom. Into the night we went, and to an emergency room for my friend. We reported what had happened at the abandoned building, which the nurse only half believed. However, she did arrange for a police car to be dispatched out there to check it out. We never heard the result. The next day, my friend's foot was in a cast. His ankle had somehow sustained a fracture. He was devastated that he was unable to play in the big game. As it turned out, there were college scouts there, and my friend was unable to showcase his skills. And due to the extent of his injuries still being unknown, he was given no consideration for a scholarship. He was heartbroken. We ended up losing the game that night, and we were shattered. We didn't really keep in touch much post that. I went on to study business at a fairly unknown college, and he went on to become a computer programmer, as without a scholarship, medical school was no longer in his reach. His dream of becoming a surgeon never eventuated, and I often thought about that night and how things would have turned out differently on the court if he was able to play. But as it turns out, the reason for his call was that he wanted to tell me it was one of the best things that had ever happened to him. Really? I asked. How so? He explained that over a year or so into his computer science degree, he had several fits over several weeks. He was then diagnosed with epilepsy, which would have ruled him out of becoming a surgeon, at least for many, many years. With medication, he was able to manage the fits and went on to design a revolutionary research software package for children's hospitals, which had untold current and future benefits. I told him I thought this was fantastic, but had to ask why he chose to develop a software package for children's hospitals. He said he didn't really know, but after what happened that night in the abandoned hospital, and after not winning a scholarship, something had continued to drive him to lend a hand to medical science, somehow. We talked for a few more minutes before ending the call, promising to catch up again sometime soon, both knowing we probably wouldn't. When I think about that night, I really have no explanation as to what it was we saw, or what happened to my friend. I guess I'll never know.